Turns out it becomes pretty trendy to skip the wireframing process when designing for the web. Hey designers, what's up? So some of you have been following me on Instagram and saw that I've been wireframing for a client project for the last few days, and somebody sent me a DM telling me that there's a current trend of designers completely skipping the wireframing process and going straight to high fidelity design. And honestly, I was not aware of this trend, so I kind of looked it up on Google, and I found this article on the TopTal blog, which is called Death to the Wireframe, Straight to High Fidelity. I will link the article in the description if you want to read it. And basically, this article has basically two claims. The first one is that clients don't really understand wireframes when they're seeing just rectangles and no real text and no real images, so they don't really understand what they should be looking at and how to collaborate on that, or approve the design, do not approve the design, and work with it. And the second thing is that if you want to do some user testing, you can't really user test wireframes because end users completely don't understand, and a lot of the visual design has to do is very important for the experience and how they react and how they work with it. So you can't really do user testing on wireframes. And so to address those two issues, which I think are actually valid points, I want to explain how I see the use of wireframes in my design process. So for me, when I'm designing specifically, I would say there are two different use cases. One would be a use case for, let's say, a product, an app, so that you kind of sketch out the UI and the whole flow and everything. And the other one is for when I'm designing, let's say, marketing websites and basically websites and content stuff that I don't call designing web design and marketing website, I don't call it UX or UI. I mean, there is experience there, but there's no real UI. Okay, there's navigation, but I don't see it as real functional UI, such as in an app or a tool that you have to use. So in those two different use cases, let's talk about the marketing website first. So right now I'm working on a marketing website for a client, and I want to collaborate on the content together with them. Now, in order to collaborate on the content, they need to see the context in which this is going to appear. So where people are going to see this, how much text can be included because of the allotted space for there. And that's the reason that I create wireframes for them, because if I would start off with the visual design, there's basically two problems with that. First one, instead of focusing on giving feedback and writing the text, they'll immediately go to emotional reactions such as, but I'm not sure I like the round corners or the red color. And this is exactly not what we should be discussing right now. So leaving out all the visual design at this point helps to focus on what we want to focus right now, which is kind of the content architecture and building the content. The second thing is, I don't think I can really design or create visuals, illustrations, photography without having like the real text, so that I can know what should be in the illustration, for example. So my wireframes do not look like lorem ipsum or text is coming here, not at all. They are actually, when I create the wireframes, I actually create the first version of the text myself, send it to the client, then they can change it, they can make revision on it, but at least they understand why I meant, why I put this section there, why I put this title there, because why I put this call to action. What is this call to action? It doesn't just say call to action button. It says, add to cart. It says, read more. So they understand the context. And the way that we use it is to actually structure the content so that I can do meaningful visual design. So in that case, they do understand what's there because I wrote good text and they understand the context. When it comes to product design, and I actually agree with the point that when you're doing user testing, and this is very, very visible when you're doing design sprints, and you want to test the product with real people, then you actually do wireframes, but there are more conceptual wireframes in sticky notes. But from there, you actually move right into visual design, just because really it helps the users at the user testing understand how this will look, how this will feel, and actually give you much more concrete feedback around how to use the product, if everything is clear, if everything works, if it actually this product makes them feel good or not. So I would say that I still think that wireframing is very, very essential in my process when it comes to designing stuff with content. When it comes to product design, wireframes are more like guidelines. Sometimes we even do the guidelines in kind of like just in a PowerPoint deck, just so we can discuss, internally what we want to build. But then I don't create like gray wireframes in Sketch. I create the visual, like I skip to the high fidelity in Sketch. But again, in marketing websites, I literally, and right now I'm testing Figma for creating wireframes. I've actually created the gray rectangulars in Figma, created the text box, and send this to the client to collaborate. So is the wireframe dead? I don't think so, but it really depends on the context. Hope this was valuable for you guys. I'll catch you guys next time.